relentless pressure of senior year weighed heavily on my shoulders, like a suffocating shroud threatening to snuff out any semblance of hope. Each passing day felt like a battle against an invisible force, driving me to the brink of despair. Desperate for academic salvation, I sought solace in the arms of a tutor, an enigmatic figure whose promises of enlightenment beckoned like a siren's song. I discovered him through a clandestine online platform. His profile, adorned with accolades and commendations, whispered sweet promises of success. With trepidation clawing at my resolve, I took the plunge into the abyss, hoping to emerge unscathed on the other side. Our initial encounters were steeped in the veneer of normalcy as he guided me through the labyrinthine corridors of academia with unwavering patience. His explanations were like tendrils of clarity, weaving intricate tapestries of understanding amidst the chaos of my confusion. For once, I felt the icy grip of ignorance loosening its hold, replaced by the warm embrace of comprehension. But beneath the facade of scholarly benevolence lurked a darkness, insidious and all-consuming. Innocuous inquiries soon morphed into unnerving interrogations, probing the depths of my daily existence with unsettling precision. The mundanity of my routines became fodder for his insatiable curiosity, each detail catalogued with meticulous care. At first, I dismissed his encroachment as the harmless musings of an overzealous mentor, a misguided attempt to forge a deeper connection. Yet, with each passing day, his presence loomed larger, casting a sinister shadow over our once symbiotic relationship. It was a casual remark, a fleeting comment on a long-forgotten photograph that shattered the fragile facade of normalcy, plunging me into the abyss of paranoia. How could he have known about the clandestine gathering, concealed from prying eyes behind the veil of secrecy? The tendrils of doubt coiled around my mind, constricting rational thought with their icy embrace. As weeks turned into months, his presence became an omnipresent specter, lurking at the periphery of my consciousness like a malevolent wraith. His early arrivals, once a beacon of punctuality, now served as harbingers of dread, heralding the inevitable descent into madness. But it was the discovery, a chance revelation born of fleeting curiosity, that shattered the illusion of safety, laying bare the extent of his depravity. With trembling hands and a heart heavy with foreboding, I delved into the recesses of my digital sanctum, unearthing a trove of secrets hidden in plain sight. His intrusion knew no bounds, violating the sanctity of my privacy with a brazenness that bordered on madness. School reports, essays, personal diaries, all laid bare before his insatiable gaze, each word scrutinized with an enthusiasm bordering on obsession. The realization struck with the force of a sledgehammer, shattering the fragile veneer of normalcy and exposing the festering wound beneath. He wasn't a tutor. He was a predator, a shadowy figure lurking in the shadows, his eyes burning with an unholy hunger. With trembling hands and a heart heavy with dread, I severed the tenuous thread that bound us, casting him into the abyss from which he had emerged. Yet, his parting words echoed in the recesses of my mind, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurked beneath the surface. But his departure was merely the beginning, a prelude to a symphony of terror that would echo through the corridors of my existence for years to come. Each creak of the floorboards, each whisper of the wind, became a symphony of dread, a cacophony of fear that threatened to consume me whole. In the dead of night, when sleep eluded me like a phantom, I would lie awake, consumed by visions of his malevolent gaze. Was he watching, lurking in the shadows, biding his time until he could reclaim what he believed to be his? But it was the email, a harbinger of doom, delivered with the cold efficiency of a reaper's scythe, that thrust me into the maelstrom of despair. Images, captured in moments of vulnerability, laid bare before my horrified gaze. Each pixel a testament to his insatiable hunger. With trembling hands and a heart heavy with dread, I confided in my parents, laying bare the extent of his depravity. Their faces, once a bastion of strength, crumbled like ancient ruins beneath the weight of my revelation, their eyes haunted by the specter of impending doom. The authorities were summoned, their arrival heralding a fleeting sense of respite amidst the storm. Questions were asked, statements given, yet the specter of his presence lingered like a festering wound, poisoning the very air we breathed. With each passing day, our fortress became a prison, its walls closing in around us like the jaws of a ravenous beast. Security systems were installed and patrols initiated, yet the sense of unease persisted, a malevolent force that refused to be quelled. But it was the shattered window, a gaping maw yawning wide in silent accusation, that shattered the fragile illusion of safety, laying bare the truth that lurked beneath. He was still lurking in the shadows, his eyes burning with an unholy hunger. With trembling hands and a heart heavy with dread, I acquiesced to the authorities' plan, becoming little more than bait in their desperate gambit. Hours stretched into days, each passing moment a symphony of dread, until at last he emerged from the shadows, his eyes burning with a madness that defied comprehension. The sting was swift, his capture a fleeting victory in the face of insurmountable odds. Yet, even as the handcuffs closed around his wrists, I knew that the nightmare was far from over. His presence would linger, a specter haunting the recesses of my mind, a reminder of the darkness that lurked beneath the veneer of normalcy. In the aftermath, I was left to pick up the pieces of my shattered existence, each fragment a reminder of the horrors I had endured. Trust became a commodity as rare as gold, every interaction tinged with the specter of paranoia. But amidst the ruins of my former life, I found solace in the knowledge that I had emerged from the crucible of despair, stronger than before. The scars that adorned my psyche would serve as a constant reminder of the darkness that lurked beneath the surface, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of unspeakable horror. Yet, even as I forged ahead, leaving the shadows of the past behind, I knew that the nightmare was far from over. For, in the darkness that lurked beyond the veil of reality, whispers of his presence lingered, a chilling reminder that some nightmares never truly end. I sat in the dimly lit room. The silence enveloped me like a suffocating blanket. The eerie stillness of the night weighed heavily on my shoulders, pressing down with an oppressive force that seemed to smother any semblance of comfort. The only sound that broke the silence was the faint hum of my laptop, casting an eerie glow across the room as I found myself succumbing to the relentless grip of loneliness. Amid this suffocating solitude, a desperate longing for connection gnawed at my insides like a ravenous beast. It was in this state of vulnerability that I turned to the digital realm, seeking solace in the virtual embrace of a dating app. With trembling fingers, I navigated through the interface, crafting a facade of normalcy with carefully curated photos and a meticulously crafted bio. Little did I know, this seemingly innocuous decision would plunge me into the depths of a chilling nightmare. As I swiped through the profiles, each face blurred into a haunting mosaic of potential danger. But amidst the sea of strangers, one profile stood out, a seemingly ordinary man with a friendly smile that beckoned to me like a siren's call. With hesitant hope fluttering in my chest, I initiated a conversation, delving into the mundane details of our lives with a sense of desperate longing for companionship. At first, the exchanges were innocuous, a fleeting distraction from the suffocating solitude that threatened to consume me. Yet, beneath the facade of camaraderie, a sinister undercurrent began to surface. It started with innocuous remarks, small details that hinted at a knowledge far beyond the scope of our digital interactions. "Did you enjoy your coffee today?" His message flashed across the screen, sending a shiver down my spine. How could he possibly know about my morning ritual, a routine I had never shared with him? With growing unease, I brushed off his unsettling inquiries, chalking them up to mere coincidence. But as the days passed, his messages grew increasingly ominous, each word dripping with a chilling sense of foreboding. "Wear your new blue sweater tomorrow. It will complement your eyes," he urged, his words sending a cold chill down my spine.
Panic clawed at the edges of my consciousness as I realized the extent of his intrusion into my life.
Terrified yet inexplicably drawn to the enigmatic stranger, I found myself ensnared in a twisted game of cat and mouse. His messages became increasingly invasive, each word a venomous reminder of his omnipotent presence. "Meet me where we first met, or I will come to find you." His ultimatum echoed through the empty chambers of my mind, sending waves of fear crashing over me. With trembling hands, I ventured into the cold embrace of the night, haunted by the specter of his unseen gaze. The cafe stood silent and deserted, a stark contrast to the bustling hub of activity it once was. Every shadow seemed to twist and contort, morphing into grotesque caricatures of human form. Yet, amidst the eerie stillness, I sensed his presence lurking in the shadows, a malevolent force that watched and waited with bated breath. With each passing moment, the walls of reality began to crumble, leaving me trapped in a nightmarish labyrinth of paranoia and despair. His messages became my constant companions, a relentless barrage of terror that echoed through the hollow recesses of my mind. Days turned into weeks, and still, his presence lingered like a malignant shadow, poisoning every facet of my existence. Sleep became a distant memory, replaced by the incessant thrum of fear that pulsed through my veins with every heartbeat. Haunted by his spectral presence, I scoured the depths of our digital exchanges, searching for any shred of evidence that might unveil the identity of my unseen tormentor. And then, amidst the chaos of fragmented memories, a name emerged, a name from a lifetime ago, a name I had long since buried in the recesses of my mind. With trembling hands, I reached out to old friends, desperate for answers that remained agonizingly out of reach. As the pieces of the puzzle fell into place, the truth emerged like a dagger to the heart. My tormentor was none other than a ghost from my past, a specter of love twisted into something dark and sinister. With trembling hands, I reached out to the authorities, laying bare the chilling reality of my existence. And when they finally apprehended him, I felt a fleeting sense of relief wash over me, a temporary respite from the relentless onslaught of fear that had consumed my life. But even as the bars of his prison cell closed around him, I knew that his ghost would linger on a malevolent specter that haunted the darkest corners of my mind, whispering tales of paranoia and despair. For in the twisted depths of his obsession, I had become ensnared in a nightmare from which there could be no escape. darkness of the night settled in, enveloping the world in an eerie shroud. I found myself alone in my dimly lit room. The silence was deafening, broken only by the sound of my breathing, shallow and strained. It was in this unsettling atmosphere that I received a letter, delivered with an inexplicable sweetness that seemed to contrast starkly with the message it carried. "My dearest friend," the letter began, its words soft and tender, yet laced with an unsettling undertone. "I have missed you since we were children, playing and laughing without worries." Despite the familiarity of the words, I couldn't place the sender. No face, no name, no memory came to mind. Days passed, and with each passing day, another note arrived, each bearing a similar unsettling sweetness. "I watched you today," one of them read. "Your laugh is still like music to me." With each note, a chill crept down my spine, a feeling of unease settling deep within me. It wasn't long before I began to notice a presence lurking in the shadows, a fleeting glimpse of someone watching me from afar. His form was indistinct, his features obscured by darkness, but I could feel his gaze upon me, an unseen observer in the periphery of my vision. The notes continued to arrive, each one more cryptic than the last. They spoke of a friendship I couldn't recall, of shared memories that seemed to belong to someone else. "Why do you run from me?" one of the notes questioned. "Why don't you remember our strong friendship?" But try as I might, I couldn't grasp the memories they spoke of. They eluded me like whispers in the wind, slipping through my fingers before I could seize them. And still, he watched, his presence a constant, looming shadow in the recesses of my mind. His gaze followed me everywhere, an unrelenting presence that haunted my every waking moment. As the days turned into weeks, the notes piled up, each one a silent reminder of his relentless pursuit. I felt like a puppet on invisible strings, dancing to his whims, trapped in a never-ending cycle of fear and paranoia. It wasn't until one fateful evening that I decided I could bear it no longer. With trembling hands, I penned a note of my own, a desperate plea for answers. "Why are you haunting me?" I wrote. "What do you want from me?" The response came swiftly, a chilling echo of his previous messages. "You left me back then," the note read, its words dripping with accusation. "And now you want to leave me again." I knew then that I had to confront him, face the specter from my past, and lay our shared memories to rest. With a sense of grim determination, I arranged to meet him at the place where our childhood friendship had blossomed, a playground now shrouded in darkness and decay. As I stood waiting in the desolate silence of the playground, the weight of anticipation hung heavy in the air. And then he emerged from the shadows, his form taking shape before me. He was no longer just a faceless specter, but a figure from my past, his features etched with a haunting familiarity. His eyes met mine, and for a moment, I glimpsed a flicker of the warmth and companionship we had once shared. But it was fleeting, overshadowed by the pain and resentment that lingered between us. "You forgot me," he accused, his voice a whisper on the wind. "You broke our promise." And then, in a rush of memories, it all came flooding back. The laughter, the camaraderie, the promise we had made to be friends forever. But life had pulled us apart, tearing us from each other's lives like leaves in the wind. As I stood face to face with the ghost of my past, I felt the weight of his pain and loneliness wash over me. His obsession with our forgotten friendship had consumed him. Tears welled in my eyes as I whispered an apology, but it was too late. He faded back the shadows from whence he came, leaving behind only the echoes of our shattered promises and the scars they had left upon my soul. And though he was gone, his presence lingered, a haunting reminder of the darkness that lurked within the recesses of my mind. For in the end, it was not the specter that haunted me, but the memories of a friendship lost to time and neglect,